Merry Christmas, everyone. This is the Christmas Eve review for AEW Dynamite. They taped the show at the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City this past weekend. Actually, they taped two shows. They taped Dynamite, they taped Collision. Collision's airing tomorrow night. If you want to watch Collision, great. I'm actually going to have some spoilers for Collision, so that'll be coming up. I'll warn you before I throw them out there. But it ties into the Continental Classic, which is really what this show tonight was all about. So I will get into some Collision spoilers for tomorrow. I will not be watching Collision. But we are celebrating, those of you who are anyway. It is Christmas Eve, and I know a lot of the regulars are not going to be here, but for those of you who are, I want to say thank you for spending part of your Christmas Eve with yours truly. So I'll try to get you out of here as quickly as I can. Not a whole lot to talk about because we have World's End on Saturday, and while we did have some words tonight from some of the challengers in the four-way match on Saturday for the AEW World Championship, outside of that, it was all about the Continental Classic and the Dynamite Diamond Ring, because we had the final with Bandido and Ricochet. So someone other than MJF for the first time since 2019 actually has the Diamond Ring now, for those who care about the Diamond Ring. But this Continental Classic, especially on the Gold League side, has been very close in terms of the points if you've been following the standings and where people are positioned there. And so the pay-per-view is coming up on Saturday. They're going to have the two semifinal round matches and the finals to crown a winner at World's End. So there has to be some resolution to this. There will be by tomorrow night. Actually, we already know who's moving on to the semifinals on both sides. And so we got a bunch of good wrestling matches tonight. So again, I keep saying it every week. If you are following along and you are into the Continental Classic stuff, you got more of the same tonight. If you are not into it, then this was not the show for you. This was not the show for you. Actually, the entire month of December really is not the month for you. If you are not a fan of this tournament here. Yes, Santa Solomonster. I am here to bring you the joy of another Dynamite review. I wish I had better gifts for you. I reached into my sack and there really wasn't a whole lot in there, but at least I can give you this. So thank you. This is your AEW Dynamite on 34th Street review. It is Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2025. I am the Solomonster. You know, the big thing about the Gold League, we have a 6-way tie heading into Collision tomorrow. Every single person in the Gold League in the Continental Classic has 6 points. Now, this tournament's only been happening for, 3 years? So it's never happened before. And they want to give you a reason to tune into Collision tomorrow to find out what's going to happen at the very end, because everybody's all tied up. Jack Perry made sure of that here in the main event when he beat Pac tonight. But again, we'll go through all of the matches here that we had in the tournament and some other stuff that went down as well. And then I'll do a quick rundown of what the card is looking like for Saturday. We'll do that at the end. Like and subscribe. Super chats are open. If any new ones beyond the ones that already came in do come in, I will read them. I will answer your questions as best I can. We'll hang out here for a little bit. So let's get into this here right off the bat. You know, the Hammerstein Ballroom, a building that I have been in many times before. I've seen many wrestling events in that building, mostly Ring of Honor, back in the day. And just watching it on TV, it looks a little bit different. It's like a different paint job. It's not quite the same as what it used to be. But it's still, it's a very intimate, cool venue that I wish WWE would run. And, they've commented on it before where the reason they don't run it is because it's hard for them to make money running there. It's not a great building when it comes to shooting television. But evidently the reason they don't run there is because they feel like they really can't make any money there, which of course is nonsense because what they charge for tickets these days, if they were to charge ticket prices like that for Hammerstein, those tickets are going to fly. And I'm sure they can make their money back. But it's nice that we get some television wrestling there at the venue. It's a historic wrestling venue. It's not, Corrigan Hall or anything like that, but a lot of wrestling history there. So we opened with the IWGP World Champion, who's got a big match coming up at the Tokyo Dome in front of a lot more people than we had in the Hammerstein tonight. But before he gets there, he had to wrestle Orange Cassidy here in the opening of this show. This was a Blue League match in the Continental Classic. Takeshita comes in with 7 points. Orange Cassidy comes in with 6. Cassidy, during his entrance, had 1 streamer thrown at him, which just seemed kind of appropriate. And with a win here, they said that Takeshita would advance to the semifinals on Saturday at World's End. Cassidy, he lightly tossed his sunglasses at Takeshita at the beginning of this match. And he went to go pick them up. It was all just to kind of sucker him in. And as Takeshita went to go pick them up and put them on, Cassidy tried a whole bunch of quick pin attempts, none of which worked. There was one, though, that definitely looked like it was a 3. And I wonder if it looked more like it was a 3 and maybe they edited this spot a little bit. I'm not sure, but even Bryan Danielson on commentary was like, I think that was 3. So that was a close one there. Paul Turner, though, said no, it was 2. And Cassidy floated over in the corner. He got decked, though, with a haluva kick, and he got knocked down to the floor. Cassidy did the hands in the pocket stuff. He threw the little weak kicks. Takeshita no-sold a couple of drop kicks. Went down, though, on the third one. Cassidy played to the crowd. That allowed Takeshita to hit a blue thunder bomb. That took us into a commercial break. So Takeshita brought him up for an avalanche raging fire here, but he got countered into an avalanche stun dog millionaire. Takeshita rolled outside. He wanted to create some distance. Cassidy, though, quickly followed with a tope DDT. So Cassidy took too long to get back inside, and he got waffled with a home run shot. Cassidy tried for another stun dog. Takeshita countered into a bastard driver, which briefly turned into a roll-up by Orange Cassidy. Only Takeshita held on into a release German. Cassidy popped up very quickly. He threw an orange punch, only got a 2 count out of it. Takeshita was able to dodge another one from the apron. He dragged Cassidy out with him. Cassidy, though, hit beach break, which resulted in both men crumbling on the floor. So Takeshita ended up crotching himself on the guardrail after missing a boot. Cassidy hit another orange punch, and Takeshita, he tumbled into the front row. So Cassidy, he dove back into the ring, and Takeshita barely beat the count back in at 9. Cassidy countered a raging fire into a small package, but Takeshita rolled through. He held on, and finally, he hit the raging fire for the win, as he should have. It was actually a good finishing sequence. Good opener overall. I mean, look, Takeshita can do no wrong right now. It doesn't matter if it's in this tournament. It doesn't matter if it's in New Japan. You know when he is in the ring that you are going to get a quality wrestling match. And you know you're going to get probably a couple of, or at least one, really good fucking wrestling match at World's End this weekend. And then obviously we're going to get one at the Tokyo Dome. So Takeshita could do no wrong right now. He racks up another 3 points. But with this win, he punches his ticket to one of the semifinal round matches at World's End. So he is guaranteed to move on here in this tournament. And you will never guess who he is wrestling in that semifinal round of the tournament. I'm going to lay it all out for you later on. We'll have more on that later on here in the stream. We got a video on Gabe Kidd saying that he will be the one to drag Darby Allin down. He pleads for Darby, please meet me at World's End. Got another video with the Bang Bang Gang talking about FTR wanting to be the best tag team in the world, but they brought up the shenanigans last week in Manchester. Something they did on Collision where there was a foot on the rope by Dax as the 3 count was made in their previous match. Anyway, Juice Robinson said that he grew up the south side of Chicago and said you got to get violent and dirty in the street. Austin Gunn then challenged FTR to a Chicago street fight at World's End for the tag team titles. So very late in the game here, we're getting a bunch of matches added to this World's End card. You know, I did my World's End predictions this past weekend on the Sound Off. And I said, boy, not a lot of matches. I go, that's going to change in the next few days. And it did. We had Mascara Dorada with 3 points, taking on Roderick Strong with no points. Blue League match here in the Continental Classic. They said Dorada needs to win his final 2 matches to have a shot at advancing. in his league. And the crowd started singing Feliz Navidad to start the match. Dorada locked in an early surfboard and switched to a pin attempt. Roddy was able to escape. We went to a picture-in-picture. Later on in the match, Dorada connected on a huge senton for a near fall. Strong fought back with backbreakers. It's kind of what he does. Hit a sick kick, and Dorada responded with a Hurricane Rana counter to a Tiger Driver. Strong got up very quickly with another backbreaker. He looked for the end of Heartache. Dorada escaped, and he hit a picture-perfect shooting star press and picks up the win. Now, Roderick Strong was mathematically eliminated already last week. If we're being perfectly honest here, Roderick Strong was eliminated the moment he was announced for this tournament because nobody expected that he was going to be moving on to anything. But he has no points at this moment. Before Collision tomorrow, he has 0 points. He has been a loser through and through here in this tournament so far. As far as this match is concerned, the wrestling was fine. Again, you already know this one guy is mathematically eliminated, and he's not doing much anyway on TV. The other guy, he's not going to the pay-per-view. So it's like, all right, we got a match here, but it's like, kind of pointless. Roddy, though, needed to win his match with Claudio tomorrow, the one that's airing on Collision, because if he does not win his match against Claudio tomorrow, that would mean that this tournament would go by and he would not have any points. He would go down with 0 points here in this tournament. And this is the first spoiler I am going to give you for Christmas Collision. Okay, this is airing tomorrow on TNT, a 9 o'clock start. For those of you who do want to watch Collision, enjoy. But this is a spoiler for one of the matches. Roddy did get his points. And what was surprising to me isn't even so much that he got his 3 points. It's that he got it against Claudio, the CMLL world champion. Got beat in this tournament by the one man who came into the final night with 0 points. That surprised me. I was expecting a draw. So at least he won't go down with a goose egg. But yeah, that was certainly a choice. We got a video package on AEW nearly sweeping the Sports Illustrated year-end awards. They won, they collected, I think it was a total of 10, I believe, out of 14 awards. So they did a whole video on it. And they went category by category, including promotion of the year. They were celebrating all of this stuff. I went through each category, if you missed it, at the end of the sound off, giving my own awards and chiming in on the Sports Illustrated ones, which ones I agreed with, which ones I did not agree with. So you can go back and check that out from episode 943 this past weekend. Renee Paquette, she was on stage to introduce champion and challenger out to the stage for the Women's World Championship match that is coming up this Saturday at World's End. Yes, Claudio is the CMLL heavyweight champion. CMLL, the promotion, again, that sold over 1 million tickets this year in Arena Mexico alone, not accounting for all the other tickets they sold outside of Arena Mexico. That's something that I don't believe they've ever done before. And yes, Claudio is the champion. So we had Chris Statlander. Now we had Jamie Hayter out on stage. Renee asked Statlander about Jamie hitting her with a lariat last week and posing with her title. Statlander said that she knows what it's like being on top of the world only to have it taken away. There was a time when she was a loser. Her leg was shredded. She lost all of her friends, only to realize her sob story was over, and she is the champion of the world after focusing on who she deserves to be. Hayter shouldn't pity her for what she's been through, but fear her for what she's become. When Hayter said that she would be a different person when they wrestle, it felt all too familiar. Jamie might have beaten her before, but at World's End, she'll be facing a cosmic killer. Hayter said that Renee asked her, do you have anything to add to that? And then she said, well, I've got plenty to add. But before she would say anything, she went to go throw a lariat. And Statlander caught her arm and Hayter looked her right in the eye and reminded her that the last time she hit her with the lariat, Statlander did not get back up. So referees came out before things could get out of hand here. They came out to just separate these two women. And that was the last little bit of promotion that we got here for this championship match on Saturday. It's just not much of a story to this match. I mean, they've been allies in recent weeks, and it was just straight up, you want a title match, you got one. That's it. Tekla had been, working, I think, with Hayter. She's kind of been in that mix, and it was a little surprising that they would go to this quickly without there being much of a story with these two, instead of maybe going to someone like Tekla, who really should be the number one contender coming out of this pay-per-view. And I'm looking forward to the match. I wish there was more meat to it, which is why not only do I not think she's not winning the championship, but I don't think she should. I don't think the time is right for Jamie Hayter to win the title on Saturday. I just don't think that she has really been built up enough for the spot when she hopefully will eventually win the belt back. This doesn't feel like the right time for it. And I think you need to give Statlander a little more time. But still looking forward to the match. Should be a really good match. Now, they gave MJF a warm-up match here on the show. His first match since Tables and Tacks against Mark Briscoe back at All Out, which was in September. He wrestled Dustin Waller. You might be asking, who? Dustin Waller is a young guy. He's been all over the indies. But obviously, if you do not know him from television, there's very good reason for it, because he's not on television. So the bell sounds, and MJF just rushes him and mows him down with a back elbow. Waller threw a loud chop to the chest, only to get slapped in the face and then drop with a hammerlock DDT. That led to the Salt of the Earth armbar and the quick submission. This was over in 60 seconds. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. This was a classic superstar squash match is what this was. This was, hey, let MJF go out there and hit some of his moves and give him a quick warm-up before World's End this weekend, because he's a little rusty. He might be a little rusty. So let's just throw him out there. Let's give him a reason to be on this show. So after the match, MJF takes the microphone, and the fans begin chanting Happy Hanukkah at him. This is a very respectful crowd here in New York City. First, they chant Feliz Navidad at Mascara Dorada. Now they're chanting Happy Hanukkah at MJF. Everyone's also wearing their Santa hats and celebrating Christmas. It's very multicultural. I love it. It's great. So before he could say anything, he was interrupted by Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland, who entered through opposing sides of the balcony at Hammerstein. Page said that he wanted to remind MJF that the contractual agreement to no physicality that they all agreed to, that got left in England. That doesn't apply here to New York City tonight. So he dared MJF to make another 1990s misogynistic joke at their expense. Page is sure that the casting directors would love to hear the kinds of things that MJF says in public. He told MJF to go ahead and compare them to a sex pest from the news. That was when he made that Diddy joke last week. Go ahead and compare us to a sex pest from the news, as there's plenty to choose from these days. Ain't that the truth? Page and Strickland, they came down to the arena floor, and Page said, regardless of what MJF has to say tonight, he's getting his ass beat. So Page and Strickland, they were ringside now at this point when the Ops Dojo Dorks got dispatched to the ring by Powerhouse Hobbs and Katsuyori Shibata. And of course, they were easily dispatched because they are, in fact, a bunch of geeks. And that's their job. Their job is to run out there and get beat up. So now Samoa Joe appears on the big screen. And he says that they all claim to have an unending hate for him. But he looks around, and the hatred might spread more than they anticipated. Now that they all know where each other stands, know that Samoa Joe is coming for them one by one. All their hopes and dreams taking the world title from him comes to an end at World's End. Joe told anyone to go ahead and hit your little catchphrase, send the fans home happy, and then he walked away. MJF tried to blindside Strickland, who ducked, and Hangman cracked MJF with a right hand. So Strickland popped MJF with a house call kick, Hangman wrapped a chain that he had around MJF's throat. He got him down on the mat, and he was basically lightly choking him, but really just restraining him so that he could listen to what Swerve was about to say. Swerve told the fans, despite what MJF tells all of us, he loves the likes, and he loves the comments, and he loves the retweets, and the response to everything that he does, because it feeds his fragile ego. He said that he's never met such an egotistical, bigoted piece of garbage like MJF, a man who has power, which makes a toxic combination in this world. And he says that makes Max more of a ditty than he could ever be. He said, let's talk about the pinnacle. Let's talk about Wardlow. Let's talk about let's not talk about Wardlow. I think the less said, the better, frankly, about Wardlow. Hopefully he's healing well from his latest injury. But let's talk about the pinnacle. Let's talk about Wardlow. Let's talk about Jay White. Let's talk about Adam Cole. All who fell victim to MJF and are worse off after MJF's bullshit. Whether it's an enemy or an ally, Swerve says that he makes them better. And as he said this, he looked right at Hangman. So after that, he says he doesn't care where MJF goes in life, in the ring, acting, career, husband, whatever it may be. Swerve is a better human being than Max will ever be. Yeah, says the guy who broke into another man's house. Swerve says that he'll see MJF at World's End, bitch. So Strickland and Prince Nana and Hangman, they all walked off together, while MJF was left alone, laying in the ring. You know, Hangman and Swerve, they're out there. It's almost like they're part of a faction together. You would think they were a tag team or something, which was weird. It was kind of cool, but it was a little weird. Especially because, you know, even if they put their past issues aside, I mean, they are still wrestling each other for the World Championship on Saturday, but they were very, very much in sync and very much on the same page here in this segment. We have the AEW National Champion, Ricochet. Yes, Rick O'Shea. The last time he was at the Hammerstein, they threw toilet paper at him. Whatever happened to that gimmick? They don't throw toilet paper at him anymore. But he and Bandido were the last two men in the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal last week in Manchester, which meant that they were going to come to Hammerstein tonight to wrestle for the Diamond Ring and the right to challenge for the AEW World Championship on January 14th. They're going to have what they're calling a Maximum Carnage episode of Dynamite. So there's a ring on the line, but more importantly, there's a World Championship match on the line. So Ricochet gained control during a break. He hit his Northern Lights roll into a brainbuster, held on, rolled to the apron for a suplex, and held on all the way to the floor, where Bandido then countered with a suplex of his own. So both men were able to break the count back inside. There was this wild monkey flip launch that nearly led to Ricochet sending Bandido into Aubrey Edwards, but he put on the brakes. But that brief delay, that allowed Ricochet to hit Vertigo, but he only got a near fall. Ricochet loaded up the Spirit Gun. He missed, but connected on a series of spin kicks. Ricochet tried a powerbomb into a Death Valley driver. Bandido, though, countered into a Poison Rana. Ricochet flipped out of a 21-plex into a roll-up for a 2 count. And Bandido popped Ricochet up into what everyone, and I thought, was going to be a Styles Clash. He had him in perfect position for a Styles Clash. And then instead of doing a Styles Clash, he converted it into a Liger Bomb in midair. Don't think I've ever seen that before. Bandido rolled through a missed frog splash, but destroyed a charging Ricochet with a thrust kick. The X-knee connected, but then Toa Leona, because the Gates of Agony were out there. Toa Leona distracted Aubrey Edwards. That allowed Bishop Khan to hold on to Ricochet as Bandido tried to lift him. He was in mid-motion for the 21-plex, right? So Ricochet's holding on to the middle rope. But, you know, the good Bishop reached up and held on to Ricochet, so he couldn't go anywhere. Ricochet charged in for a Spirit Gun. Bandido, though, caught him with a crucifix for the flash pin to win the ring. The thing I like about the finish is that everything here would lead you to believe that this was leading to a Ricochet win. Because what the hell does Bandido need the ring for, right? And also, like, the ring fits Ricochet more than it does Bandido, but even the way they did the finish here, where it's going for the 21 plex, but wait, GOA is getting involved, and it's like, okay, we can see where this is going. And then boom, Bandido just wins out of nowhere. So, of course, everybody cheers because everybody in New York loves Bandido. After the match is over, Ricochet, he just immediately kept beating on Bandido until Brody King ran to the ring and the Demand all bailed. Good match with a surprising outcome for all the reasons that I just mentioned. First thing I thought when I heard the Bandido, because I knew Bandido was winning this match. And the first thing I thought when I learned that Bandido won is that he ain't going to have that ring for very long. Because here's my line of thinking on this. I believe that MJF is going to win the World Championship on Saturday. And if I had the decision to make, I would definitely be putting the belt on MJF. Let's say that happens. Okay? MJF wins the world title back. We now know that Bandido is getting a World Championship match on January 14th. Okay? So that much we know. I was surprised that there was no MJF involvement in any of the Diamond Ring stuff. Pleasantly surprised because what does he need it for? It's so beneath him at this point. But I still find it hard to believe that that ring is not going to find its way back to MJF. If MJF wins that title on Saturday, I believe that he will add a stipulation to their match where it becomes title versus ring. And he forces Bandido, or coerces him, into putting the ring on the line, and Bandido only has the ring for a few weeks. He's going to lose, and when he loses the ring, and MJF gets the ring back. And he ends up with the fucking ring anyway for 7 years in a row. That's if MJF wins the title on Saturday, because the only way that match happens, he has to win the championship first. So if Samoa Joe wins, and he keeps the belt, and he wrestles Bandido, then I don't see that happening. There's no need for Joe to get the ring. But if MJF is going into that title match, he's going to want that ring back. And I'll bet it turns into title versus ring. So we'll see. But I certainly would put the belt back on him if I was booking that main event. Love Samoa Joe, but you bring back MJF after all this time, and he's got that contract he's cashing in, and he doesn't win the championship, it's a bad look. So Lexi Nair was backstage with Darby Allin, which usually means pretty good chance something bad's about to happen. And we're told that he is now medically cleared. You know, he was bounced out of the Continental Classic because he got his bell rung, I guess, in the match with Kevin Knight. So he wasn't medically cleared. That's how Jack Perry got in. But now he's medically cleared. He's good to go. And he started to say that he's got better things to worry about than Gabe Kidd, because he was asked about Gabe Kidd. But we see behind him in the distance, Gabe Kidd is slowly approaching. And Gabe Kidd attacks him. He drags Darby over to the same staircase. Remember when Darby got thrown down a flight of... Actually, I have to clarify, because Darby Allin has been thrown down a flight of stairs multiple times, many years ago, in fact, at Daly's place. And I don't remember who did it. I want to say it was Lance Archer, but don't quote me on that. He got thrown down a flight of stairs. That was a brutal bump, too. That was... God, that... had to be one of the pandemic era shows. But it was a year ago at the Hammerstein that he got thrown down a flight of stairs by Jon Moxley. Apparently this was the same flight of stairs, because now it's a year later, they're back at Hammerstein, and Gabe even made a comment to him, basically something to the effect of, does it look familiar? And he walked him up the stairs, and he booted him back down the stairs. And this crazy fucker takes this fucking bump all the way down the stairs and down to the ground. So for technically the third time now, Darby Allin has been thrown down a flight of stairs. So I think it's safe to say that we will be getting that match added to the World's End card. We had, oh, that's right, it was Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. See, I told you, don't quote me on that. Men of the Year. God, you guys remember Men of the Year? You're better than I am. I had forgotten all about them. They might have been the men of that year, but not so much. Although Ethan Page is actually doing very well for himself. Scorpio Sky, I think he got hurt again, so he's out. His career is ever since that period, and he did hold the TNT Championship at one time. Attention to the sicko in row 4. Look, I know you're excited to be at Dynamite tonight. It's your first show, but you can't be pulling that thing out. Okay, you got to put that away.
Fuck Triple H.
And don't think I didn't see that sign that you brought that said, I came to see AEW. That's sick. Thank you. Oh my goodness, Naked Dried Chicken with Flavor dropping a $40 sicko. Sicko. Super chat. On Christmas, no less. You can't take that thing out on Christmas. Come on now. You got kids walking around. You got people singing Christmas carols, and you're going to pull that thing out. What's wrong with you? Thank you, brother. Yeah, I know that Scorpio Sky more recently has been working with Top Flight, but I thought he got hurt and he was out again. Is he back now? I can't even keep track. He was gone for so long, and then they finally brought him back, and then I thought he got hurt again. So maybe he's back by now. But what I was going to say is his career really hit the skids. And so I don't know what his 2026 is going to look like, but I think Ethan Page is going to have a very good 2026. He'll be on the main roster also soon enough. He doesn't have to get called up right away, but definitely next year at some point, I would love to see him and Chelsea Green working together as some sort of pairing on TV, maybe on SmackDown. I think that would be good. We had Mina Shirakawa against Marina Shafir. Actually, MS against MS. Look at that. Same initials. It was at Blood and Guts, if you remember, the finish of the women's Blood and Guts match, where Marina Shafir had her submission finish, the mother's milk, as she calls it, locked on Mina, as Megan Bayne was whipping Mina with the one of Mercedes' many championships. And that's what caused Toni Storm to quit for her team. So there was a little bit of history here between these two women. And so here, before the match, they showed Mina telling Toni in the back earlier today, stay backstage so that I can fight for you. And Toni said, okay. So it was all Marina during the break. Mina battled back with a sling blade off the top, got a buzzsaw kick that connected on Shafir, who managed to duck a back fist, but then found herself caught in a figure 4. And Marina is screaming in her face, I will not tap. I will not tap. And so Mina goes to slap her. She grabs the hand. She snaps the fingers. So that's how she broke the hold. Mina did finally connect on the spinning back fist. And then she charged in again, only to run right into mother's milk. And she put her out with it. Referee raised the arm once. The arm went limp. Called for the bell. So Marina Shafir picks up the win. After the match, Shafir faked leaving before reapplying mother's milk until timeless Toni Storm hit the ring. And as soon as Toni got into the ring, she looked like such a geek here. She gets into the ring and instantly she is put down, unconscious, with a kick and lands right on top of Mina. And one of the few times you will ever see Marina Shafir crack a smile. And she flipped off the crowd and then she left. I don't like that Mina loses so much. She loses a lot. And in fact, I had to look it up because I couldn't even remember the last time she won a singles match. And I'm not counting any Ring of Honor bullshit. All right, we're talking AEW television here. The last time that Mina Shirakawa won a singles match on AEW television, you would have to go all the way back to May. And it was a win on Collision against Sky Blue. Can we stop beating Mina? She's popular with the fans, right? People like her. But if she just goes out there and loses all the time, it's going to wear thin. It's fucking December. Going into January, I think we can toss her a few wins here and there. We got footage of the Elite beating the Don Callis family last week, winning the $1 million, which will amount to nothing. It's already basically forgotten about. I mean, they reminded us here that there was $1 million on the line, but there's no fallout. There's no fallout from it. So basically, the footage that we got here, Lexi Nair was backstage, and she asked the Young Bucks if they would be cleared, because the rumors are that they won't be for quite some time. And they were all like wrapped up and everything and licking their wounds. So Matt Jackson said they won't be cleared for at least the rest of the year. Again, you would think that they would be in a jovial mood because they won $1 million. But it was a complete, as I figured it would be, it was a complete afterthought, and it will, I'm sure, never be brought up again. So they said they won't be cleared at least for the remainder of the year. Kenny Omega was there with them. He said, regardless of what happens, the Elite will always be the Elite. And he said that maybe this allows me to go take care of something. He says, while the Bucks recover, I'm going to do something that I should have done a little while ago. And they walked off, and it's like, ooh, okay, what does that mean? And really, there's a couple of different things that it could mean. My first thought was, you know what it would be nice to see would be for Kenny Omega to remember when Kyle Fletcher attacked him. This was back when they did their residency at the old ECW arena. So now we're going back to like August. Or even better, is it a reference to Andrade and the fact that he was, attacked and laid out by Andrade on a random episode of Dynamite. Well, it wasn't a random, it was the anniversary episode, but he got laid out by Andrade, and we know why Andrade has not been referenced ever since. But Andrade is now free and clear. Andrade is now free of his WWE non-compete. He's popping up all over the place. He's going to be wrestling at Wrestle Kingdom in a couple of weeks. And I fully expect to see him back on AEW television very soon. It could be even as soon as this weekend. I expect him to be back on TV. My guess is that we're going to get Omega calling out Andrade, because now that he's free and clear, he's coming back, and they can do the match that they probably wanted to do a few months ago. So that's my best guess on this. This could be a way that they reintroduce Andrade to TV. But again, he's got that history with Kyle Fletcher, who put him through a table and put him out there for a little bit when they wrote him off television a few months ago. Either one of those would be great matches. And then in the main event, we had Pac coming into this with 6 points against Jungle Boy, or Jack Perry, whatever he's called this week, with 3 points. Continental Classic Gold League match. Pac can advance to the semifinals with a win here. After a break, Pac delivered a missile drop kick for a near fall. Both men start slugging it out until Perry planted him with a brain buster into the double down. Both men down. Perry starts firing up. He flipped out of the corner. He stumbled a little bit because he's got the bad ankle. He did tweak his ankle a few weeks ago. But he still hit a release German. Leaping DDT spiked Pac for a near fall as Perry signaled for his sacrifice knee. But he missed. And Pac launched him into the corner with a release overhead belly to belly. We got the 10-minute time call from Justin Roberts. And Pac brought Perry up to the top for an avalanche belly-to-belly for a close near fall. Pac was now talking shit to him. He's daring him to fight back. He could barely stand. Both men trade thrust kicks until Perry hit a poison rana and a bounce-back lariat that turned Pac inside out. And the crowd was solidly behind Perry here. He tried the sacrifice knee again. He got caught. And Perry fought it off into a back suplex. He finally hit the knee. But the way he made the cover, it allowed Pac to sink in the brutalizer. And Perry was struggling. He was able to get his foot on the bottom rope for the break. Pac then got a running start, the way that Braun Breaker does, right? Back and forth, building up ahead of speed. And he mowed down Perry with his lariat. But instead of making a cover, he went back to the brutalizer. And in so doing, it allowed Jack Perry to counter out of it into a pin attempt, only for 2. Pac quickly repositioned into the brutalizer again. Perry, though, bit the hands. He's been biting people a lot. He's like a fucking vampire, this guy. He bit Okada on the dick last week. He had a match with Speedball, who, of course, wrestles barefoot. He bit his toes. And so now he's biting Pac's hand. And he bit his way free, and then he beat him with a flash pin. And Excalibur on commentary said that by the skin of his teeth and using his teeth, Jack Perry wins. And with that win, it kind of creates chaos now because it creates the first ever 6-way tie here in this Gold League, where it's anybody's ball game. Luchasaurus came out here at the end of the show. He had a Santa hat on, I believe, and he had milk and cookies. He put some antlers on Jack Perry's head and started throwing presents out to the crowd. Perry offered cookies to fans in the front row, and there was one little girl, actually the first person when he brought the plate of cookies over, and he offered cookies to this little girl, and the girl refused. She's like, no, I'm not interested. How do you refuse a chocolate chip cookie? How are you going to say no when somebody, especially on Christmas, when somebody presents you with a chocolate chip cookie, okay? That's just terrible parenting. That's what that is. I'm sorry. You don't say no to the cookie. Chocolate chips are my favorite, by the way. Wish I had one right now. So Jack Perry, again, he was a late addition to this tournament. He was a fill-in for Darby Allin when he legitimately got, hurt or, banged up, and then they had to pull him, and they needed a replacement. So he was the replacement. And now he has as many points as Okada does here in this tournament. They're all tied up here in this league. I suspect that it would have been the same thing had Darby not gotten pulled from the tournament, where this is where they always wanted to get to. They wanted to do the 6-way tie gimmick to create some drama and intrigue going into the final collision here before the pay-per-view. So, again, even if Darby was in there, we probably, would have ended up in the same place. So here are the standings right now. Again, 6 points in the Gold League for Fletcher, Okada, Speedball, Pac, Kevin Knight, and Jack Perry. And in the Blue League, Takeshita has 10 points. He's already in the semifinals. Claudio has 7 points. John Moxley, Orange Cassidy, and Mascara Dorada have 6 points, and Roderick Strong has no points. For now. So now we get into some spoiler stuff. For those of you who give a shit and you don't want spoilers, tune out. Because I'm getting into some spoilers for the remaining matches that are taking place on Collision tomorrow. If you are wondering what the semifinal round matches are going to be on Saturday in the Continental Classic, Takeshita is in one of them. Takeshita is going to be wrestling Kazuchika Okada in the semifinals. Yes, it is not the finals. They're doing this match in the semifinals at World's End. And the reason being, Okada and Fletcher are going to win their matches tomorrow. That would put them in a tie with 9 points. So it's like, well, what happens then? Tomorrow's the last show before the pay-per-view. Well, the way the rules work is that if there is a tie at the end of all this here, then the tiebreaker goes to the person with the better record against the other person. Well, if you remember, how did this tournament start? Kyle Fletcher beat Okada in the opening contest of this tournament. Therefore, Kyle Fletcher wins the Gold League. But because Okada is the runner-up, remember that rule they instituted last year? They made that change where the winner of, let's say, the Gold League wrestles the runner-up in the Blue League. And that's one semifinal match. And then in the other one, the Blue League winner wrestles the runner-up in the Gold League. And because Okada would be the runner-up, he gets Takeshita. So that is going to be taking place in the semifinals. Kyle Fletcher wins the Gold League. Let's start with this Okada-Takeshita thing before we get into the other match. I was surprised when I found out that this was the case, but I mentioned something on the sound-off last weekend. I wasn't too surprised because I said this was a possibility. I said, I wonder if they would do this match in the semifinals. And if they do, to me, that tells me that Okada is winning. And the reason I say that is because now I'm not saying that there's not a way to do it where Takeshita wins and you can make it, work story-wise. But I just think it would probably work better if you have Okada beat him. If you're not even doing it in the finals, have Okada beat him in the first match. That way we know we're guaranteed at least one more match. And I could see them wanting to kind of drag this thing out a little bit longer and take it to Revolution. Revolution is their next pay-per-view after World's End. Now, Revolution is not until March 15th, so we got a ways to go, but it is typically one of their biggest shows of the year. And I think it would be an appropriate place to do, like, the big Okada-Takeshita singles match. I don't have an issue if Okada wins the first one, so long as Takeshita comes back and beats him for that unified championship when they rematch, let's say at Revolution. So the fact they're doing in the semis, it just tells me that Okada's winning this match. Now, the other semifinal round match is going to be Kyle Fletcher taking on Jon Moxley. Boy, the Callis family, it really pays to have 85% of the roster, I guess, in your faction, because you're guaranteed to eat up a bunch of spots here in this tournament and probably have one of your guys win the entire fucking thing. Because we have 3 different representatives of the Don Callis family occupying 3 of the 4 remaining spots in this tournament. But it will be Kyle Fletcher taking on Jon Moxley. That is going to be the other semifinal round match. There is an argument for either one of these men to win and move on. The argument for Okada against Moxley, which is what I think it would end up being, would be that Okada and Moxley is a big match. It's 2 of the biggest names on the roster. I don't know that they've wrestled before. But I am hoping and still waiting for there to be some sort of actual story development with the Death Riders that is going to lead to the beginning of the end of the Death Riders. And I can envision Moxley going to Moxley's not winning this tournament, but I can envision Moxley going to the finals and losing. And maybe that ends up being the catalyst for whatever this next chapter of the Death Riders is going to be. So if it makes story sense that that's the direction they take this in, then I don't have an issue with doing Okada and Moxley in the finals. Okada wins for the 2nd year in a row, and that loss instigates something, whatever that next phase of the Death Rider story is going to be. That would be the argument for doing Okada and Moxley. The argument for doing Okada against Fletcher, which is just Callis member against Callis member, is that Kyle Fletcher beat Okada to open this tournament. So if it comes down to the 2 of them in the finals, the obvious, if you're Excalibur, the story you're telling is, well, Kyle Fletcher already has a win over this man at the beginning of this tournament. So if he could repeat that, right, he'll win the Continental Championship. He's already beaten him before. And I mean, I suppose if they wanted to do it in a way where Okada wins and maybe Fletcher somehow ends up on the outs with the Callis family, and we know that he has a friendship with Takeshita, so you could loop Takeshita in there. I don't know though. I mean, kicking him out of the Callis family, and Fletcher going babyface, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not really a big fan of that, to be honest with you. So, but that is something that you could do. So I look at this and I go, I think we're looking at Okada and Moxley in the finals. And I think Okada repeats as a winner, 2nd year in a row, winning the Continental Classic. And you hold off just a little bit longer, and then you do the big match outside of the tournament between Okada and Takeshita. And also, they got a couple of big matches coming up at the Tokyo Dome in a couple of weeks. Takeshita is going to be defending the IWGP title against Yota Tsuji on that show, one of their rising younger stars. Who should be anointed on that show, because my God, like, who the fuck else is it going to be? Tanahashi's retiring. They've lost all these other big names that have carried New Japan for all these years are gone. They're done. It's about time you crowned somebody new. That should be Yota Tsuji. Because Takeshita is never going to be able to give you a full-time schedule. He's still an AEW guy. At the end of the day, he may have contracts with all these different companies, but he is an AEW star. So I could see Takeshita losing here. I could see him then losing again at the Dome, and now he's down on his luck. And Okada, who's wrestling Tanahashi on that show, he may well beat Tanahashi, and boy, he would show up on AEW television after that, and he would be rubbing it in Takeshita's face. And that would just throw more fuel on the fire. So that's kind of how I see things playing out here. But, look, the cool thing about it is that it could go a few different ways. I'm going to say we get an Okada-Moxley final. And what I like about that is that in the cases of both of them, you have story directions to go in. With Okada and Takeshita, you continue on with that story. And then with Moxley, please, for the love of God, please, let's go ahead and start to blow up the Death Riders into whatever they're going to, whatever this next iteration, I guess, is going to look like. But a Moxley loss in this tournament could help get us there. And then at least you have a productive final because it leads to something. But World's End is this Saturday. And beyond, Merry Christmas, Blue Onion. Beyond the Continental Classic, there are some other matches on this show. So let me run through them real quick and I'll give my predictions here. We now know that Darby Allin is wrestling Gabe Kidd. Or at least the challenge has been thrown out. It will, spoiler, it will be accepted on Collision tomorrow. So we're getting Darby Allin against Gabe Kidd. I got Darby Allin winning that match. FTR defends the tag team titles against the Bang Bang Gang, Chicago Street Fight. No way they take those belts off FTR before Cope and Christian come back. So FTR will retain. I mentioned the Continental Classic. That's 3 matches right there. By the way, there is another possibility that I didn't mention. And the other possibility is that we could have, right, theoretically, we could have Okada and Takeshita go to a draw. Like, neither man has to win or lose. Every Continental Classic match has a 20-minute time limit, I think, regardless of what round it is. And I'm pretty sure there's never been a Continental Classic match, even in the finals, that's gone longer than 20 minutes. So it's not that difficult to envision that Okada and Takeshita would go 20 minutes and they would wrestle to a draw. Now, if that were to happen, that would mean that automatically the winner of Moxley and Fletcher would win the entire tournament. So if that were to happen, then I would go with Kyle Fletcher to win the Continental Classic, which would be great for Kyle Fletcher. But I forgot to mention that possibility as well, that maybe we don't get any winner between Okada and Takeshita. Right? If they don't want to beat either one of them, that would be the way to go. Kind of a cheap way, but you could do it. Save the clear winner for when they, rematch and wrestle again. Could happen. Because I was wondering, like, man, if they're going to go to a draw, like, we know the other matches have 20-minute time limits, so the semifinals maybe has 30 or whatever, and then the finals has an hour, but I'm pretty sure they all have 20 minutes. I think it's just like a uniform thing throughout the entire tournament. Okada and Takeshita could wrestle 20 minutes in their fucking sleep. I mean, 20 minutes, especially on a pay-per-view, 20 minutes is nothing. So that is a possibility also. But the other matches, we have Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale. They're going to defend their tag team titles against Mercedes Moné and Athena. Willow and Harley just won the championships. They should not be losing the championships yet. They should certainly not be losing it to Mercedes. She is in the process of shedding her skin, shedding some of the existing titles that she has. So Willow and Harley should win. I think Willow and Harley will win. We have Jamie Hayter challenging Chris Statlander for the Women's World Championship. And I'm going with Chris Statlander to retain. And then in the main event, the 4-way match, Samoa Joe defending the AEW World title against Hangman Adam Page, Swerve Strickland, and MJF. This should be an MJF win. That's what this should be. I hope it is. I think it will be. And I think we end up getting MJF and Bandido on Dynamite next month for the World Championship. And I would suspect that we will get 1 or 2 surprises on this show, whether that is the return of Andrade, whether that is the return of somebody else, maybe who's been out injured. I would expect there to be some kind of surprise somewhere here on this show. And that's probably not even going to be the full show. I'm sure they're going to add another couple of matches. But that is the card as complete as I have it right now for World's End on Saturday. I am still undecided as to whether or not I'm even going live for the show, because I just know it's just going to be a fucking long show. It starts at 8 o'clock. It's going to go to 12:30 in the morning. I got a podcast to do on Sunday. Why not just save it for the sound off? I'm debating what to do. I'm also doing my countdown, by the way, this weekend of the top 15 matches of the year. So that will be a part of the show as well. But whether or not it's live or if it's on the sound of, you will get a World's End review at some point this weekend. So just be aware of that. Here's the Twitter poll. What did you think of Dynamite on 34th Street? 54% thumbs up for tonight's show and 46% thumbs down. I suspect that there were not a lot of people watching this show today. Just a hunch. Not only did it air on Christmas Eve, but it was at 6 o'clock in the evening, which I don't think was really advertised well because I got a lot of questions, even in the live chat before I went live. Like, wait, Dynamite aired? Is Dynamite on now? Like, people had no idea that this show aired at 6 o'clock in the evening. So probably a lot of people did not watch the show tonight. But I did, and now I've got you all caught up on it if you missed it, so you don't got to worry about that. I got you covered. I always got you covered. You don't got to worry about that. Santa Solomonster always takes care of business. All right, let's get into your super chats here. I think half the people in the chat probably had no idea that this show was airing 2 hours earlier than usual tonight. It's like, what? Why is he going live so early? Joseph Stewart, I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas as well, my friend. Santa will bring you a nice gift this year. And I thank you, Joseph, because I appreciate the support. And not all the haters who don't support, but you support. And I appreciate you for it. He says, do you remember the Superstars match that Rodney Dangerfield was watching in Natural Born Killers? I just mentioned this the other night. It was Tatanka against some scrub. It was like a Superstars match. I remember it being Tatanka, though, because he did his war dance. Like, he went on the warpath. I remember that. Have I seen the movie Elf with Will Ferrell, and were you a fan of Elf? I'm not a big fan of Will Ferrell, so I did not see Elf. I don't really find him as funny as other people do. So no, I never saw it. What was your favorite scene in Elf? I don't have one. Don't have a favorite scene or a favorite character. I didn't see it. I have no interest in seeing it. I believe James Caan is in the movie. So even James Caan being in the movie is not enough to get me to watch it. Did I know Macaulay Culkin almost voiced young Simba in The Lion King? Nope. Did not know that. Did I know Sean Connery almost voiced Mufasa in The Lion King? See, that I think could have worked. Did I know Christina Ricci almost voiced young Nayla in The Lion King? Can't say that I did. Or that Joe Pesci almost voiced... Is that true, that Joe Pesci almost voiced one of the characters in The Lion King? What are your 5 favorite characters in The Lion King? Simba and Mufasa. And yeah, those are my favorite 2 characters in The Lion King. Pumbaa? Was Pumbaa another one? Buy or sell Jim Carrey, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, or Will Ferrell in the Elf movie? I don't really like either one of them, but we'll go with the Grinch. Are you going to watch Die Hard tonight on Christmas Eve? Not tonight, but I might watch it tomorrow. Or at least have it on in the background while I do my work, because I got a lot of work to do tomorrow for the show this weekend. I will be working on Christmas Day. Happy 100th birthday to Winnie the Pooh. Do you remember the Masters of the Universe movie He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special? The movie I do, the Christmas special, I probably saw it as a kid, but I don't remember much about it. Do you remember the Masters of the Universe Power Tour from 1987? I don't. Did you see the first look of the Avengers Doomsday online that featured Captain America? I did. It looked cool. Do you remember the movie Jack Frost, which had Michael Keaton playing Jack Frost the Snowman? Did not see it. Do you know The Rock has a cameo in Zootopia 2? I thought Roman Reigns and CM Punk had cameos in Zootopia too. So now you're telling me The Rock does also? Was I mistaken? Roman Reigns and CM Punk do not have a role in that movie? Do you remember the movie Snow Day with Chevy Chase? Yes, I do. Is it true that when Chris Jericho first joined WWE, Vince McMahon was not a fan of Jericho and did not see Jericho as a main eventer? Well, he had to be a fan of him to some degree because he hired him. He hired him and he knew there was a lot of fan interest in him. I remember Vince McMahon was invited to Oxford over in the UK to do, I don't know what it was, a speech or talk to a class, whatever it was, Q&A. And one of the students asked him about signing Jericho. So this had to be in the summer, maybe early summer of 98. Imagine Vince at Oxford. And somebody asked him about Chris Jericho. And he was, I don't remember his exact answer, but like he knew that there was fan interest in signing this guy. And so he signed him and they debuted him in a segment with The Rock on television. How can you say Vince McMahon was not a fan of Chris Jericho if he did all that? Right? He had to be a fan. Now, did he see him as a main eventer? Probably not. He had to earn his way, into that spot. But to say that he wasn't a fan of his, I think would be foolish. Even if he was just going by what other people said, because I don't think Vince was sitting there watching WCW Nitro, clips and matches of Chris Jericho. But clearly he was told by people, hey, we need to, bring this guy in. He could be a big star for us. And he was like, hey, you know what I like? I like making money with people. So sure, let's sign him and bring him in. Did you know that Sean Connery almost played Gandalf in the Lord of the Rings movies? I did not. Do you remember when Diesel led the WWF employees at Titan Tower singing Christmas carols in the lobby of Titan Tower? Were you there that day? I don't remember that, but I remember there's an image going around from, maybe it was from one of the magazines in 95 of, and he had to be at Titan Tower. It was him and Bruce and maybe Pat Patterson, and they're all wearing ugly Christmas sweaters. I remember that. Maybe that happened on the same day. Do you remember the Star Wars holiday special from 1978? Brother, even if I was alive then, I probably would not remember it. Oh, not a big fan of Captain Kirk and Dr. Spock. Have you read the original Batman Returns script? It takes place on Christmas, but it featured Robin and Vicky Vale. Interesting. Do you remember Paul McCartney's Christmas song? I'm aware of it. Do you remember the Jack Nicholson and Danny DeVito movie Hoffa? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I hope you have a blessed and safe day today. Merry Christmas, Solomonster. I hope you have a safe and wonderful Christmas. Well, I wish the same for you, Joseph. For you and your family, I hope you have a very Merry Christmas and you get everything that you're looking for. You've been a big supporter these last several months, and I appreciate that. We have Elder Murray says, Merry Christmas, Solomonster. And what is your favorite Christmas movie? Well, favorite Christmas movie, it might be Home Alone. I don't know. It's either Die Hard or Home Alone. But my favorite Christmas movies would be Die Hard, Home Alone, and Jingle All the Way. That would be my top three. Ace of Masta says CM Friedman. Are we talking about the hair? It's very different. His hair is a lot darker than I remember it being. And there's more of it on his head now. He's gone full Hollywood now. We got prime dried ribs and chicken with flavor. Can you imagine Darby Allin in a Home Alone movie setting up dangerous traps with Macaulay Culkin? No, I would envision Darby being the one who ends up getting his ass kicked by falling for the traps and refusing a stuntman and doing all the stunts on his own. Psycho Jet Black, what is your most hated Christmas song of all time? It's probably the Mariah Carey one, just because I just get so fucking sick and tired of hearing it. All I Want for Christmas Is You. Probably that one. We have, to all the sickos, let's all get it out of our system. You're under the mistletoe in AEW. Jamie Hayter or Chris Statlander. There you go, sickos. Answer. Feel free to chime in the chat. You're under the mistletoe. Who's it going to be? Chris Statlander or Jamie Hayter? I'm going Jamie Hayter. We got Melees. Lucha Grinch. Scrooge Money, thanks for the Christmas spirit. Forgot to throw Santa Solomonster in there. I could take them both. During a wrestling match, pick your poison, getting thrown into a Christmas tree or landing on a bunch of Christmas ornaments. I mean, I'll get thrown into a tree. Unless it's wrapped in fucking barbed wire or something, I'll go with the tree. Power Spying Games, 1:53 a.m. in London. It is Christmas now. Well, Merry Christmas. Buy or sell Sonata or Jey Uso? Main event runs. Sonata. Sonata had better matches. Here's a spoiler. Triangle of Madness will cost Jamie Hayter's match at World's End a dirty finish. You got two baby faces wrestling each other, so it's possible the heels will run in there and fuck it up. Very possible. Also, he says, Merry Christmas to you, Solomonsters. Start breaking out the megaphone after SmackDown is over. F Triple H. Merry Christmas, brother. The Mount Vernon Kid, Christopher Bennett. Hey, Solo, my brother Malcolm, a.k.a. Hulkling93, and I want to wish you and your family a Merry Christmas. How's your aunt doing, by the way? Well, I want to wish you guys a Merry Christmas as well. She's not doing great. Finally moved her out of the hospital a few weeks ago. She was there for 3 months, which is not good. And they wanted to get her into a rehab center as quickly as possible, but... You know, she's still... She was in a neck brace still. Because... Again, she had this very serious, very complicated, very long surgery after her accident. She fell. She fell down the stairs. And... Man, it was a mess. It was a mess. It was a 12-hour surgery to... repair various fractured vertebrae and a bunch of other things. But I guess after it was over, they didn't realize there was a hairline fracture in her neck. So they put her in a neck brace, and she was laying in a neck brace for 3 months. So the neck brace is finally off, but she's still on a ventilator. She's still, so when she's awake, she can't speak unless they disconnect it briefly, and then she could talk for like small amounts of time, but she's not really communicating. It's, hopefully that will change, but not great. But thank you for asking. Also, he says, time to add another cop drama to your growing list. It is called New York Undercover. Word of advice, just watch the first 3 seasons. The last season is not good. I like a good cop show. Crypto and Poker. The Brett book was great. Merry Christmas, Solo. The Brett book is regarded as maybe the best wrestling book ever written. And a big part of why is because as he was on the road for all those years, he kept journals. He would go back to the hotel and write shit down or record shit, however he was, noting all of this stuff. So there's stuff in there that I'm sure if he wasn't doing that, he wouldn't remember it. But he documented all this stuff. And you look at the career that he had on top of all that. So it's a long book, but there's a lot of good shit in that book. Doesn't always paint him in the best light either. He is by no means a perfect person. Duff's Vids says, what do you call a snowman with abs? An abdominal snowman. Merry Christmas Eve. Hope you have fun tomorrow. The abdominal snowman. It's good. I like that one. Merry Christmas, Duffs. Also, if you get an email about meat, don't open it. It's spam. We got Dwayne. Dwayne cough a lot with flavor. Santa Solo looking sharp. I try. It's not a bad look, actually. You have to wear the hat on every stream. Look at that. Got my little ball back there. In Bobby's world, happy holidays to Solo and the chat. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you very much, Bobby. Duff's Vid says, what's a Christmas tree favorite candy? Ornaments. And what do you call a poor Santa Claus? Saint Nicholas. I hate to do this to you on Christmas, but you leave me no choice.
You suck.
You leave me no choice. You have disappointed Santa. For shame. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with me here on Christmas Eve. And I will be back on Friday night. The tape shows continue, everybody. But yes, we have a taped SmackDown coming up on Friday. I will be live after SmackDown. And again, we got a big weekend coming up between World's End and obviously the podcast on Sunday and the top matches of the year, news of the week. And then once we're out of the end of the year doldrums, we're going to be kicking off 2026. And I have a feeling that 2026 is going to be the biggest year yet. 2025 was a great year for the Sound Off and for the Solomonster. House of Glory. A lot of big things happened this year. More road shows. And so you got that going on. I got the podcast going on. TNT. We had what I think, if not our best, one of our best episodes last week. And TNT's killing it on Tuesdays, and there could be some other fun stuff soon. We'll see. So I think 2026 is going to be our year. Duff says, where do you find pencils in your house? The bathroom. They're number 2s. Man, they're just somehow they're getting worse. They're just getting worse and worse. And oh, look at this. Our friend Gabe is with us. Gabe Owners Alpha. Thanks for the review. You're welcome, Gabe. It's good to see you here on Christmas Eve. Kurt Angle is the only wrestler to tap out The Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, John Cena, Sting, AJ Styles, Brock Lesnar, Shawn Michaels, The Rock, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Well, that's why Kurt Angle is in the conversation for GOAT. He's definitely in that conversation. Kurt was awesome. And to think how quickly he took to it. Took to it like a duck to water. It just came natural to him. That's what made him so great. Merry Christmas, everybody. I hope you all get everything you're looking for. I hope you get to spend time with family and or friends. And I hope you will come on back and join me on Friday night because we're going to be talking about SmackDown. DX Extreme says, men's poll is up now. Women's will be on Facebook. Vote. There you go. There it is. Go check it out on Facebook. I assume that means in the private group on Facebook. And I will see you guys on Friday night for the SmackDown review. Until then, Merry Christmas.